Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a minute. I see some people are still joining us, but we're so thankful that you're here tonight. I am Michelle Dwyer. I'm the Director of Admissions and Marketing at Faith Lutheran Middle School and High School. And with me tonight, I have Jen Whitney. She's our admissions coordinator, and she does all things, paperwork, phone calls, etc. If you have any issues and you call our main line, you'll talk to her or our other teammate, Abby Fox, or myself.
Hi, everyone.
So we will go ahead and get started. We do have a Q&A function on the webinar, so you should be able to type in questions as we go along. So if you see a slide that sparks a question, go ahead and type it in, and then we'll address all questions at the end, unless it pertains to that slide, then we'll kind of interject and we'll go from there. All right, we're gonna get started. Here's our agenda. First, I'm going to tell you all about Faith Lutheran so that you know what you're even thinking about. We're really thankful that you're here. We're thankful for your interest in faith. So we want to give you a little bit more information about our school. Then I'm going to give you some application FAQs. We're going to talk about important dates to keep in mind during the application process, and then we'll have time for Q&A. There's my email address and phone number if you have any questions. And we'll give you that contact information at the end as well. It's also on our website. All about Faith Lutheran. So here's our admissions team. So myself and Miss Whitney are on here. Miss Fox is our admissions counselor. She answers a lot of phone calls and emails for us as well. She also does a number of our tours, and you'll see her at all of our events. And then Anna McDaniel is our director of academic support. So for any of our students who have 504, IEP, resource services that are needed, she'll be your contact as well. Some facts about Faith. This is a picture of our two most important employees, Esther, our comfort dog, and Crusader Lou, our mascot. Our mission statement is everyone prepared, everyone saved. And it's got 2 exclamation points because we're really, really excited about it. What that means to us as an organization is that everyone that we have in our organization will be prepared for their future. So every student that comes in, we want them to be prepared for whatever life throws at them down the road. So academically prepared, socially prepared, physically prepared, but also spiritually prepared. And that's where the everyone saved part comes in. You do not have to be Christian to come to Faith Lutheran, but we do have a lot of Jesus around here. Your child will hear the name of Jesus in every class. They'll be in religion class every year. They'll be in chapel once a week for the middle school and high school. It's really important to us. Again, we have a community of all different faith types and faith backgrounds, but we want to be upfront about who we are. So your child's going to be prepared and they're going to hear the name of Jesus. Our school opened in 1979. We are currently on our 3rd campus, and we've been on this campus since 1998, and it is ever growing. So right now we're in a building project to add more offices to the front office space. And we are also going to start breaking ground on our new STEM building that's coming in 2026. And it's going to be a 100,000 square foot STEM building. We're very excited about it. This year, we have 2,195 total students from 6th grade through 12th grade, and 828 are middle school students, 260 are in our 6th grade specifically. Our class size across the board, we try to keep our ratio at 21:1. It's important to us that class sizes are small, and so some are going to be a little bigger and some are going to be a little smaller than that. But it's important to us that students get the individualized attention that they need, and that teachers can really invest time in your students. And our mascot is Crusader Lou. So some application facts. This is what you all came for. We're going to walk you through the application process. And again, we have the chat Q&A. So if you have questions, you can go ahead and pop them in there as I go. Our application opens on Monday, September 9th. So it will go live on our website in a number of places. And I'll show you a slide of where it's going to be placed on our website, so you'll be able to see it. Because you're here tonight, you'll also get an email with the link to apply directly. So here's the process. You submit your application with a non-refundable $100 fee. Then you upload your required documents. You request recommendations. You submit first quarter or trimester or semester grade reports. after October 11th. We want to wait till the students have had those teachers and administrators for at least a full quarter before getting those recommendations and getting those report cards. So please wait on those 2 items. And then if your child could be a fit for Faith Lutheran based on their grades and their recommendations, then they'll be invited to interview in January. And admissions decisions will roll out in February and March. Please note that this process is for new students only. So if you have a current student, you do not need to reapply. You'll receive information about re-enrollment in November. We have continuing enrollment right now. So that means you just keep on going until you tell us you don't want to go here anymore. So you don't have to worry at all. But again, we'll send out more information about current students in November. We have different program types here. We like to say there's many ways to faith. All of middle school is fully on campus. So all their classes will be fully on campus. They take 8 per year. High school has 3 program types. You can be a fully on campus class schedule, but this might include 1 or 2 online classes depending on our space in those sections. You can be a hybrid student, meaning you take 3 or more online classes and then the rest would be on campus. And we have a number of different schedules available for that. So morning on campus or morning off campus, depending on what your student needs. We have a whole webinar on online classes and hybrid classes coming up in November as well. If you want more information, it's going to be on November 19th. And then we have a fully online process as well. It's a Faith Lutheran diploma, just like the other diplomas, but it's a fully online schedule. So if your student travels quite a bit or your family travels quite a bit, or you're overseas, or your student's going to move in the middle of high school and you want them to have 1 diploma all the way through, then the fully online option would be a great option for you. Our curriculum is the same online as it is on campus. But again, more information on that at the Flow webinar on 11/19. So here's how to apply. On our homepage, it is not there right now, but on our homepage, starting on Monday, we will have a big gold button that says apply today. And you click on that button, it takes you to the application. You can also go to the admissions tab up here on the screen. It's right next to the Coors Light sign. I was very excited to graduating at the Allegiant Stadium, but we aren't sponsored by Coors Light officially. It will also be on our admissions page where it says how to apply. We'll put the link there. And then if you click on that, you'll see the directions that I'm giving you tonight. So long story short, you'll have a lot of different places where you can click apply now. We try not to hide it because it's the most important thing that we're doing. If you have already used our site to register for an event, when you click apply now, you're going to be prompted to log into your Crusader Connect account. You don't want to create another account if you already have one. So you want to use your previously created account. And this goes for if you have a sibling already attending Faith Lutheran. So you'll see the application says fill out, you'll click on that. Or if you're applying a second child, applying a sibling, you'll go down to apply another child there at the bottom with the plus sign. I want to point this out because this trips up applications. Sometimes we get a lot of questions about that. So if your child splits time across 2 households, so a guardian in 1 home and a guardian with a second address, we can establish multiple households when you're filling out the application. So what you do is underneath where you fill out information for parent 1, then you click add another household in blue. It's really tiny, so we wanted to point it out for you. And then it will provide a drop down, and then you'll provide the second household information. Our finance office can also help you establish 2 different tuition accounts as well. If that's something that you need to do, we can transfer you over to finance if you give us a call, or you can call them directly. This would also be if a grandparent or other family member needs access to your child's account. So like full access, not just like they're curious sometimes about grades, but they want to know, they want to get all the emails, and they want to be able to see the grade book. They're going to be helping raise your child. Or if your student's going to be living with a guardian and you're going to live elsewhere, then you would want to establish another household as well. Academic Resource Center. We have a number of resources for students who need them. And we provide accommodations, not modifications, which is changing the curriculum, but accommodations. So breaking the curriculum up into more digestible pieces for students that need this. To qualify, you would need to indicate that you're seeking support on your application. Or if you find out mid-process that your student does need academic resource, let's say you get a new diagnosis for dyslexia or dysgraphia or something like that, you can call us and we can always change you over to academic resource. So you'll have some additional educational documents to add to your checklist, and you'll complete an in-person interview. Those are the two biggest differences. I want to really make sure that you know we do not discriminate against students based on if they need academic resource or not. We have plenty of space in our academic resource program, and it's really to your child's benefit to let us know if your student has ever had an IEP or a 504, and if you are seeking services. It's much easier to tell us, yes, we're seeking services, and then to find out later, you know what, we don't really need it, we're good, we can go without services. It's easier to do that than to try to add it later. If you're thinking, you know what, it's middle school, they're gonna start 6th grade, we're gonna go without it. Or you know what, they're in 9th grade now, they're probably fine. Our school has a tough academic schedule. It's very rigorous curriculum. And we find that parents often regret that choice. And so we just want to warn you up front. It does not count against your child. It does in no way hinder their process. And so we do offer those resources, and we want to provide them. So I believe there's a question about this. So go ahead, Jen.
Yes, so I just had a parent that had a question about that new recommendation we're asking for our resource applicants. If you could speak to the type of person that they might send that to.
Yes, so on the academic resource checklist, if your student is seeking sources or resources or has a 504 IEP, on their checklist, it asks for an academic resource recommendation. So this would be a teacher who, if they receive like pull-out services, so they go to a separate classroom to work on things, if they have a tutor that helps them on the side, if they have a teacher that's really working with them individually to give them extra services on top of what they receive just in the regular classroom day. So we would love to hear from a teacher that can speak to your students' ability level, especially when it's broken down into manageable chunks for them. So that way, because a lot of times we can only tell so much by grades, and the recommendations we receive are only just a snapshot. So we want to get really like a full picture of students. So that's why we ask for that extra recommendation. If you don't have somebody in your student's life like that, if they're just with the same teacher all day, or they don't go to a pull-out classroom, just email us and let us know that, and then we can talk through what that would look like for you. Does that answer the question, Jen? Did we have more questions on that?
It does. I have more questions about recommendations though. Does the teacher recommendation need to come from an English teacher? This person in particular, their student spends more time with the homeroom teacher, and they're wondering if they send it to their 4th grade teacher or wait for their current homeroom one.
Good question. So I have, I think my next slide is, I have a slide coming up about recommendations. So let me answer that one. We'll get there. So once you submit your application, then we will process it, and 2 to 3 business days after you submit it, you'll receive an official note. It's an email with the email address that you provide us saying that you've been assigned a checklist. And this is what the checklist looks like. And you'll log into Crusader Connect to upload all of your documents. You won't email us any documents. You will upload them to the checklist, and you just kind of keep going down the checklist. In total, the time it would take, the application itself is about a 15 to 20-minute process. And we really want to make sure that you do that process slowly and with a lot of attention to detail, because all the information from your application builds your child's file. So if you spell your name all caps, then your name is all caps for the rest of your child's file life until we change it on our end. So if you could just, really pay attention to detail as you're entering things, that would be really helpful on our end too, so we don't have to clean it up later. But you'll get a checklist, and the checklist itself, if you have the documents ready to go, takes about an hour, maybe I would say, to maybe find them all and upload them. If you have them all sitting in a file folder on your desktop already ready to go, then it takes you, what, 20 minutes probably. We will process the documents one by one, so it takes us about 3 to 4 weeks before they're all processed. So if you send something in and you don't hear from us, and give us 3 to 4 weeks, and we'll let you know. We will also send reminders to you. If it's been 3 to 4 weeks and you're kind of stalled out and we're like, they submitted everything except these 2 things, what's going on? Then we will send you a reminder and say, hey, we're still missing these 2 things. So we'll just work together on that.
And I would also add a note here that that December 20th date is, I know the urge is to get everything in immediately, but the goal is really to get it in by that December 20th date, because that kind of helps us when we start planning our interview season in January. So if you don't have everything right this minute, it's no reason to panic. We have a little bit of time to get it all together. We're here to help you guys. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I see there's a hand raised. If you could type your question in the Q&A though, we don't have the, it's not set up to take verbal questions, but if you type out your question, then Jen will read them out loud. All right, so we're gonna talk about required documents and then we'll dig into what each of them means. So we need a birth certificate for your student. First quarter or trimester progress report, please don't send that until after October 11th or whatever their quarter ends or trimester ends. It's too early if you send it to us right this, like on Monday at 8 a.m. They've had 3 grades. So we'll send it back to you and say, we actually need you to wait. Transcript from last year and a transcript from the year before. So you can send those in already because those are finished. Standardized testing scores. Please wait till your student completes testing from 2024. If they do fall testing. If they only do spring testing at your school, please send in last spring's testing because that is still from 2024. The administrative and English teacher recommendation and character reference, I'll dig into detail more in the next slide. And then we may request some additional documents from you, but that's just kind of a case-by-case basis. So the recommendation links are sent via email from Crusader Connect. And I have a slide about that later that shows you like what that looks like when you get to that step. And then if your student is international, so they have a birth certificate that's not from the United States of America, or they went to school somewhere other than the United States of America in the last 3 years, we consider them an international student. And so we'll give you a different checklist. It doesn't hold them back from admissions at all. We just have to collect some different things. And then academic support checklists, like I said, are also slightly different requirements. Yes, Jen, go ahead.
Yes, so a parent just asked if the documents you're submitting are not correct. Either myself or Mrs. Fox will send you an email back. We're just not going to let you hang in the abyss, but we'll let you know what's going on. But generally, we want to make sure that those documents have pretty obvious stuff. It's, you know, we're verifying it is what we're asking for, but make sure your student's name on it. You know, a date is clear, as Mrs. Dwyer said, the current grades and all that good stuff. And then one more, a parent's asking, my child had better grades in some semesters over others. Is that taken into consideration?
Both really great questions. So to add on to what you said about the documents. So these bullet points kind of explain what we're looking for in documents. We need them to be scanned and uploaded to the correct place on the checklist, or we'll send it back to you and say, hey, it needs to be uploaded somewhere else. And please upload it as a PDF or JPEG that's really clear. So if it's blurry and we can't read it, we'll send it back to you. We don't want them all in one PDF. We want each one in the place that it goes. And then all the documents should have your student's name and indicate what the document is. So if you have an online gradebook and you screenshot, those screenshots don't have your student's name and we can't tell, you know, where they're from. So you need an official, like, you can click like print this page and save it as a PDF and send us the PDF of the grades. And then report cards and transcripts should have grades, the student name and the school year posted on it. Some schools have grades that are like, they have a 1 or a 2 or a 3. We see all kinds of grading systems. We're not as concerned about that, but we do need to have some sort of grading system. Same thing for testing scores. We need to have the student's name, the test type, and the test date and the scores on it. again, we will decipher what the scores mean, but we do need to have all the students in, and the dates especially, and then we will email it back if it's, if there's an issue with the document. If your student is homeschooled, we do need to have a report card. And so that looks different for everybody. So please just call our office and we'll talk you through that process, because homeschool programs are all a little bit different. So just call our office and we'll talk you through that. And then the second question, was it recommendations? Oh, yes, it was. So, here's what the recommendations look like. So when you click start, it pops up this box that's on the side, administrative recommendation. You type in the name of the person you're sending it to and then their email address. Please double check the spelling of their email address. Often recommendations don't come through because the email address is incorrect and they never get it. And it goes instantly. So once you send it, it goes to their inbox within a few hours. And you can always check with them and say, hey, did you get the recommendation for my student? And then the additional comment box, that's where you can type a little message like, hey, please fill out this recommendation for my student. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you. They do not send in a traditional letter. With this form, they get like a checkbox form from us that says exceeds expectations, below expectations, that kind of information. And then there's a spot where they can type all the wonderful comments about your student that they want to share. So we do not need any traditional letters. For character reference, that can be anybody, any adult in your child's life. It cannot be you as their parent or guardian. It needs to be somebody else, coaches, their fourth grade teacher, somebody that has known them forever. It can be just like a family friend. That's fine. English teacher has to be their English teacher from this current school year, which is why we want you to wait till after first quarter. I taught English for 11 years, and I know after first quarter, I have a good read on my students. And so I didn't mean the pun there with the English teacher and the reading, but it went really nicely. So I can hear you laughing, but I can't actually hear you laughing. Anyway, so for the English teacher, we ask about your child's reading level. And so if you send it to their last year's English teacher, they're going to say, well, I don't know, because last year it was this, but you want your student's most current assessment. So please send it to their English teacher from this year. Administrator is open to counselors, principals, assistant principals, deans, somebody that knows your child and can speak to their disciplinary record and say, yes, this child is great, and would know details about your child like that. Did that answer the question, Jen?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, great. Yeah, keep them coming in the Q&A. We'll address any extra questions at the end as well.
Perfect.
So the interviews are going to begin in January 2025. So if you get all of your documents submitted by that December 20th date, which you'll have your first quarter or semester grades, you'll have sent your recommendations in like October, November. So they'll come back. And you'll have all of the report cards from previous years. So you'll have everything wrapped up by the end of December. If you have everything turned in by December 20th, then you can schedule an interview in January 2025 if your student is a fit for Faith Lutheran. If your student is not a fit for Faith Lutheran, we don't think that they would be successful here. We will let you know that they've been denied an interview, and you're welcome to call and ask why. We try to be really clear about why. We do have a lot of applicants. I don't say that to scare you, but just know that if that does happen, we will communicate clearly with you, and you're welcome to call the office and talk it through as well. The interview is about a 20 to 30-minute Zoom interview. Unless they're an academic support student, then it's an in-person interview with a member of our admissions committee. And your child interviewed first. So you start together on the Zoom, and then we say, okay, it's time for your child's portion. We ask them 7 to 10 questions, and then we'll say, okay, can you go get your parent or guardian? And then you come in and answer the last couple with your student next to you. It's really advantageous to your student if you aren't sitting right next to them, breathing down their neck about it, because they get very nervous. And so if you could give them some space to answer for themselves, that's really what we're looking for. Can your student communicate about who they are, what kind of student they are, articulate their interests, We know that a fifth grader is going to interview differently than a junior in high school, and we account for those differences. If you want to practice with your student beforehand, that's great. But it's really important to kind of give them space to be who they are, and they're going to say goofy things, and that's okay. We all work with kids on a regular basis, so we understand that. Then you as the parent will get a chance to clean up everything they said at the end when I ask you all those questions for you, and then you'll say, and they forgot to say this about themselves. So you will have a chance to add on to what they said. But in the interview, please let them shine. Decisions will be released mid-February. So that means that we will send an email to you saying that you have a decision on your contract, and on your Crusader Connect, you'll log in and you'll click the decision tab, and then you'll see the decision. And then after mid-February, we'll have rolling decisions, meaning we'll keep accepting students as we have space, depending on availability. If your checklist is not complete, we can't schedule your interview. And if we can't schedule your interview, then we can't complete your file and we can't give you a decision. So if you're not scheduled by January 31st, and we haven't heard back from you, then we're going to assume that you're no longer interested in Faith Lutheran, and we'll close your file, and then they'll no longer be considered for admission. We had quite a few applications last year, and so we're shortening our admission season so you have from September 9th to January 31st to pull it together. And I know you all can do that. So if you are waffling because you might move, that happens quite a bit. We have quite a few military families who move for different jobs and things like that. It is in your best interest to complete your whole admissions file so that you can get a decision, and then you can accept or decline the decision. If you accept a decision and say, yes, we want to go to Faith Lutheran, and then end up moving, we refund you your enrollment fee if you move out of state or out of town. If you accept the decision and pay your enrollment fee but end up going to another in-town school, it's not refunded because you're still in town. So you kind of have some decisions to make. We try to give out decisions in a timely manner. If you have some extenuating circumstances, you can always call our office and talk that through. And you have 14 days after your initial decision. I think that's on the next slide. You have 14 days to complete your contract, to accept your spot and secure your spot. If we don't hear from you by day like 12, we'll send you an email and say, hey, are you interested? Your contract expires in 2 days. If it expires, we'll assume that you're no longer interested. We will take the hint. We'll close your student's file. So we communicate with the same email address. We'll try to give you a call, but it's really important to maintain communication. After you accept, you sign your contract, you secure your spot, you pay your enrollment fee. The enrollment fee is $1,000 up front. Then you submit your immunization records for review, and you register for a placement test. Our placement test is to help figure out what math class your student fits best in. That's at the middle school and high school level. So it's primarily a math test. High schoolers have an option to write an English essay as well, based on one of the prompts that we give them, if they want to take honors English classes. That's just for high school though. It does not bar admission if your student bombs the placement test. We still allow them to go here. We just place them in the lowest math class because it seems like they need that. So we don't have an entrance exam. It's a placement test. After these requirements are satisfied, then your student can request classes, and our electives go really fast. So you're going to want to, I know once you're accepted, you're like, all right, whew, breathe easy, but you still have some things to do so that your student can select the classes that they want to take. Sometimes they miss out because we're kind of lagging on missing some things, and we don't want to do that. We want to get you your schedule by May, June, by those dates. Okay, this is the slide to scare you into applying as soon as possible, because there is a strong possibility of a waiting pool for next school year. We already have students, or we still have students in the waiting pool for this current school year, and some of those students have been waiting since last year. So we are building a new building to try to alleviate some of that, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of great candidates, and not enough desks. And so we had over 1,000 applications for last year for only 461 spots, 6 through 12. Middle school spots go much faster, and freshman year, sophomore through senior year go a little bit slower. But I want to tell you that so that you get your stuff turned in on time. I'm a former teacher, so due dates are really important to me, and we just want to make sure that you that we set your student up for success. So if you get your application in on time and complete your checklist by December 20th, then you have priority consideration, meaning that we're like, okay, this person did all the stuff they were supposed to do. Let's get their interview scheduled. Let's keep them going. Jen, did you have a question?
I have a few. I'm just trying to figure out where the appropriate place would be. Right now would be a great one if you wanted to answer. A couple parents have a question on what type of criteria do we look at when we look at the kiddos, just to kind of get a feel for who gets in, who doesn't. And if you could talk to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, definitely. So when we look at applicants, we look at three main things. So we consider their grades from the last 3 years. And I believe there's a question earlier, my student had better grades one semester over another semester. That's why we ask for 2.5 years of grades, really. So the last 2 years and then whatever they're doing currently, because we know that grades tell a story. So they had a down quarter, but then they pulled it back up. So we look at all of those. And we also look at the report card comments from teachers too. So if your student has a C, but their teacher says a delight to have in class, super hard worker, that's really important to us. No, those are qualities of a great candidate. We also consider recommendations. So what do students and administrators and the character reference have to say about your student? What qualities do they have? We're looking for students who want to contribute positively to our community. So our student body is made up of all kinds of students. Not all of our students are straight A students. Our students come from a variety of backgrounds, family backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds. We want to continue to build and diversify our student body, and that includes all kinds of students. On the recommendations, we are looking for behavioral things. And so if teachers say the student doesn't listen, the student throws desks at me on a daily basis, that's not a great candidate for Faith Lutheran. If they're, they listen well, they answer questions, they participate, then that's really important to us. And then the third thing we look at is the interview. And so can your student communicate about who they are? Do they have some interests? Do they have some goals and aspirations for their life? Our fifth graders always say things like, I'm going to be a professional basketball player, or I'm an astronaut. And that's awesome. By junior year, we're looking for, okay, so what's your path to get there? And so, as your student grows, can they articulate what's the next step for you? And so those three aspects together are what we look for in a candidate. Did you have another one?
Yes. How many spots roughly do we have for high school, and maybe specifically for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade?
So for 9th grade, our current 9th grade is around 360 students. And so from 8th grade to 9th grade, we go from 280 to 360. So we have, I didn't know I was going to have to math on this video, but we have that many spots.
Sorry.
And then sophomores through seniors, we have room for about 360 per grade at those levels as well. But we don't grow from freshman to sophomore and sophomore. So the 360 is kind of set. Now, with our hybrid and our online options, we are able to get creative with schedules. So some students this year that maybe applied late, we weren't able to offer them a fully on-campus schedule, but they could come on campus for 5 classes and 3 of them are online because those 3 classes were full on campus. So for example, sophomore world history is full on campus. So students who wanted a spot, they had to take world history online, but a lot of them are really loving it because what kid doesn't like to sleep in the morning and maybe take a late start and do their online work at home. So we have more flexibility at the high school level. At the middle school level, we only take 266 graders. And we grow from 6th to 7th grade by about 25 spots. And then from 7th to 8th grade, we don't grow. So it's only students that leave from 7th to 8th grade that those are the spots that we can fill. We have a really high retention rate right now. We're at about an average of between 90 and 95% retention from class to class. So that's something to consider too. If you have a 5th grader and you're like, well, maybe we'll just wait till 7th grade, I would advise you to apply for 6th grade, because 6th grade we have 260 spots available. In 7th grade, we might have 25. So it's in your best interest to start earlier rather than later. If your student's already in 7th grade, you're like, oh man, I missed the boat. It's okay. Go ahead and apply still. You never know. And we'd love to consider your student.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So enrollment and tuition. Our enrollment fee is $1,000. So once you sign your contract, once you receive your decision that you're accepted, you have 14 days to sign the contract and pay the $1,000 fee. And there is a sibling discount on the enrollment fee. So if you have 2 students coming at the same time, there is a discount. Or if one student, we have a spot for them, but then the other student has to wait till later till we know we have a spot, they would receive that discount later as well. Our tuition for next school year is $16,275 for the year. We do have payment options, so you can pay in 1 payment, 2 payments, or over the course of 10 months, so 10 payments. We have financial aid available, but we do not offer any tuition discounts. So financial aid is, I have a slide about that. It's based on your tax documents. And then additional costs to consider are uniforms and books. So that varies by what grade they're in and what classes they're in. We kind of say all in, there'll be about $500 between uniform and books. And then if they're part of any sports and clubs, those fees vary by sport or club, depending on what equipment that they need. So the financial aid application, it's need-based tuition assistance through fax and based on tax information. And that application opens on January 1st. It doesn't open until January because you have to wait to receive your tax returns before you can apply. And it must be started prior to receiving an admissions decision so that you need to apply before we will release a decision to you so that we don't hold up your potential decision. So for example, the scenario sometimes families find themselves in is they get a decision and say, hey, you're accepted. But then they say, oh, well, we need to apply for financial aid first. Then you have to wait like 3 to 4 weeks to know what kind of financial aid you'll get, but you only have 2 weeks to decide to take your spot or not. And so the timing is off. So our best advice is to do your application, get your students full application and checklist finished by December. Then do your financial aid application if that's something that you think you'll need in January. So that way everything's ready to go when you get that decision mid to late February. And then there is a Nevada Choice Opportunity Scholarship Program. If you look it up online, there are some different programs that offer different scholarships. We do accept funds from those. I don't have a whole lot of information about them, but you can find them online, and we have accepted those in the past. So some important dates for you. We have some upcoming events. We really want you to come on campus and see what we got going on. We've got 3 Explore Faith open house experiences scheduled on Saturday, October 19th, Saturday, November 16th, and Saturday, January 11th. They will run from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and it's a come and go as you can. So I know my kids are going to have soccer all 3 of those Saturdays. So just bring your kids in their soccer uniforms to traipse around campus. Stay as long as you want or as little as you want, but we're going to kick you out at 11. It's going to be like 11:15 though, it always is. Our army of Welcome Cruise students, our student ambassadors, will be on campus, spread out across every nook and cranny, ready to show you around. Our teachers will be on campus to meet you. We'll have some coaches there, some administrators there, so that you can get your questions answered, see our programs, see our all the different places that we have, see all of our facilities. It's a really good time. Our campus is often described as being similar to a college campus. So you're going to need, at least 45 minutes to kind of explore the whole thing. If you've never been on campus and you're kind of on the fence, I really encourage you to come to one of those early ones, October and November, because by January, you might get a decision in like the next 2 weeks. So you really want to come to those first two. If you would like to take a more like private tour, we have tours of like 3 to 4 families. You can register on our website. We are currently booked out on those because we offered a few a week and they were all snatched up. So we're actually already booked through December. So your best bet is to do an Explore Faith event. If you have a 5th grader, we have an event called Future Crusader Day, and it's October 9th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you'll register online on our admissions webpage, and you'll bring them to campus. They'll eat lunch with us. We'll run them around, show them what it's like to be a middle schooler. They'll fall in love. And then 10 days later, you'll come to Explore Faith, which is a very strategic planning on our part. And we'll just reel your whole family in. You'll be like, we have to be here. And then if you have an incoming freshman, so a current 8th grader, we have a Future Freshman Day coming up on October 9th, 29th, I'm sorry, October 29th, where they can, similar timing. Actually, no, it's 8 to 11:30 in the morning. So it's about a half day, and they'll see some classes, they'll meet some teachers, they'll meet some of our student ambassadors, they'll take a short tour, and we'll show them what it's like to be a freshman. And they'll get to sit in some mock classes as well. And all of those events can be found on our website, all of the registration information. Explore Faith, you can drop in without registering, but we would love for you to register so that we can have a count for, handouts and giveaways and things like that. Okay, here is your to-do list, and I'm going to post this whole video online sometime this week. So if you want to screenshot this, great, but you can always revisit it. You're going to complete your application as soon as possible. It opens on Monday morning. If you can't do it Monday, it's really okay, but try to get it done as soon as possible. Then we will process it. You'll receive a checklist. You'll submit all your required documents and your recommendations. But your recommendations, that's when you'll send out the recommendations in October and November. Okay. That's when you also submit your current testing scores and your first report card. If you want preferred scheduling for interviews, we need all of your stuff by December 20th. Interviews take place in January. Again, only if you're finished with everything in December, because then we can schedule you out. And then you're going to apply for financial aid if you want to in January. That's optional. And then your decision will be released in February and March. Placement testing takes place in April and May, and that's for students who are accepted to Faith Lutheran. All right, so now we have time for some Q&A, and this is our contact information too, if you'd rather email your question, but no question is too small. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, I got some for you, Mrs. Dwyer.